Oh, mate, I can't speak. I can't. So yes, Keyshawn and Keon Davis just attacked Nahir Albright backstage after Nahir Albright defeated their brother Kelvin Davis in the ring. Now we already know it's been a horrible 36 to 48 hour period for the Davis brothers, but it just got way worse. How did it get worse? Keyshawn Davis is a complete and utter crash out. I already went in on him in my last video, which you can check out, link in the top of the description, about his whole weight miss that led to his main event being cancelled, the world title fight with De Los Santos that was meant to take place tonight. And then, his main event spot got taken by his rival Abdullah Mason, who he pressed at the press conference, but he still had his two brothers fighting on the undercard. His older brother Kelvin and his younger brother Keon. So Keon won earlier in the night, good body shot stoppage. That was, I think, like the first fight on the card, was the first one that I caught. And then later on in the night, we've got Kelvin Davis fighting Nahir Albright. Nahir Albright, who is actually a former opponent of Keyshawn Davis. And Nahir Albright, what can I say? He came in as the underdog, and he just whooped Kelvin Davis around the ring. Had him hurt from early, rocked him multiple times, looked on his way to a stoppage multiple times. Kelvin Davis had to grab and hug to survive. But, it was a good performance from Nahir Albright to only earn the majority decision victory because one judge actually somehow gave that 95 to 95 a draw. So, that's a clear hometown gift decision that judge was trying to give to Kelvin Davis there. So things were already going terribly when Keyshawn Davis's literal main event got cancelled in his hometown of Norfolk. But, one of his brothers won. So the only way it could get worse is if his other brother lost. And his other brother did lose. But now we move by that now. We're just looking forward to watching Abdullah Mason fight in the main event, the young up-and-coming phenom. I mean, I know I certainly was, because the second the Kelvin Davis fight finished, I was just looking forward to watching Abdullah Mason at that point. But then, after round one in the Abdullah Mason fight, we cut backstage to Nahir Albright, and we hear there's been an incident backstage. Now, he has the marks above his eyebrows that are from the fight, but he has this big bump on his head, this big hematoma that we didn't see after the fight. And it was revealed that that was caused by the backstage scuffle when Keyshawn Davis and Keon Davis literally just came into his locker room, after Nahir beat their older brother Kelvin, and just attacked him. And that's what we got between rounds 1 and 2 of the Abdullah Mason fight. And it was a good performance from Abdullah Mason in the main event. Got the stoppage. We'll call it a TKO. I think it was the start of round 5 when Nakatila couldn't continue because of the cut. But I'm going to be honest, I was not locked into that Abdullah Mason fight after the first round because I was just astonished by the news that we got between that first and second round that Nahir Albright had been attacked by, the two younger Davis brothers backstage, Keyshawn and Keon. Keyshawn Davis, what a crash out, to be going backstage and attacking the guy who just beat his older brother. Obviously, anyone would be reacting a type of way when the brother is getting beaten badly, but whenever they panned the camera to Keyshawn Davis during the Kelvin Davis fight, he was really tweaking, so I guess he just couldn't handle that on his mental. He needed both his brothers to win after he lost his main event, so he thought, now Kelvin lost, let me just go back and just whip his opponent backstage. Oh, what a crash out, man. He calls himself the businessman, and he's had the most unprofessional 36 hours odd possible. Missing weight, having the fight cancelled, which I went in on him about in my very last video. And I just thought, I'm going to leave Keyshawn Davis alone after that. We all have a reason to objectively dislike him, but I'm not going to go in on him. And, I'm going to watch both his brothers' fights in the undercard. I thought they were both going to win. Obviously, Kelvin didn't. And then watch Abdullah Mason in the main event. But Keyshawn Davis somehow done something more unprofessional than what he did the day before the fight in missing weight and stuff. He somehow made things worse for himself. It's crazy. He is a crash out. He is a crash out. Oh man, I actually don't even know what to say. I'm speechless by this whole thing. So I was going to immediately react to this right after the news came out, but I wanted to watch the Abdullah Mason fight. Then I caught the UFC main event after that, and then I thought, what, let me just catch the UFC main event. Then hopefully after that finishes, we get more news about the whole scuffle. So as for the news we got beyond, the little interview we got between the first and second round of the Abdullah Mason fight, that Keyshawn and Keon just went backstage to just attack Nahir Albright. So yeah, we got that. Nahir Albright was basically just celebrating in his changing room, and Keon and Keyshawn came in, must have roughed him up, and then Keyshawn must have grabbed Nahir and just headbutted him, and that's why Nahir has the swelling on his head. So it's mental, isn't it? And then at the end of the Top Rank broadcast after the Abdullah Mason fight, which really took the attention of Abdullah Mason, unfortunately. we saw some footage of a scuffle that happened in another area backstage. So it must have spilled out into a different area backstage when Nahir Albright's brother went to go and, have a word with Keyshawn and Keon for what they did. And I will quickly note now that, Kelvin Davis, the man who Nahir Albright actually defeated in the ring, he wasn't involved in, the attack of Nahir backstage. So yeah, it was just mental, man. It was just mental. Um, I'm glad Abdullah Mason got the main event, and people are saying now that Abdullah Mason's the one who is shining in this whole situation after the Davis brothers crashed out and after Keyshawn lost his main event to Abdullah Mason. But from where I stand, yeah, it's W Abdullah Mason, but Keyshawn did steal the attention because I was not concentrating on Abdullah Mason's fight like I should have, and I'm not reflecting on it like I was planning to after the event because now all I can think about is Keyshawn Davis attacking Nahir Albright backstage. So negative attention, but the attention is on Keyshawn Davis right now, as far as I'm concerned. I will note we don't have full details on the situation. We did see footage of Keyshawn going after people backstage. We don't have any footage of him actually headbutting Nahir Albright in Nahir's locker room. We don't know what caused it. Okay, no way should we give Keyshawn Davis the benefit of the doubt. He's already in all of our bad books because of the weight miss situation, which I already touched on in depth in my last video. And because of his energy, he's a bit tapped in the head. Let's be honest, he is a crash out. We know he's not mentally all there because of some of the stuff he's opened up about in interviews, which I didn't want to bring up in my last video. I criticised him heavily in that video about his weight miss, but I didn't want to bring up his mental state. But we know his energy's weird because of that. I don't need to say it, but we know someone who does that is not right in the head. So I'm going to assume that Keyshawn Davis really did just crash out and just attack Nahir Albright for no reason because Nahir Albright was celebrating. That's what Nahir said. Nahir said that Keyshawn must have heard Nahir and his team celebrate, and then he just came in and attacked him pretty much for no reason. But as of right now, we don't know full details. Nahir, I'm gonna obviously assume he's innocent, and he's playing it very innocent. I'm not saying he's not innocent, but he could have said something to provoke him. We don't know. It doesn't mean Keyshawn's justified to literally attack him, but he could have. So right now we don't know. There is a possibility that Nahir Albright is not quite as innocent as he seems because it as much as a crash out Keyshawn is, there's no way that he would have just grabbed him and headbutted him while Nahir was all happy and showing respect and stuff. Because then Keyshawn is really must be skits. So, but yeah, I don't even know what else to say. I probably should wait for more news to come out before I say. There's nothing else really to say other than Keyshawn is an unprofessional crash out disgrace. Had his fight cancelled on him, went and attacked his brother's opponent after his brother lost and just completely skitzed out. And Keon Davis as well, obviously Keon Davis is not the one that headbutted him, but he apparently attacked him as well. Keon actually won on the night, but I guess he couldn't handle seeing his older brother losing. One of the two older brothers, because his obviously older brother Keyshawn did not make it to the fight after missing weight. So it's mental scenes in Norfolk, Virginia, man. Bad night for DB3. Wow. Tonight or last night, I'm recording this right now. I'm speaking at 7 o'clock in the morning here in the UK. But let's say last night was a big night of fights. So much fighting on. And I didn't expect this whole Keyshawn Davis thing to really, steal the show and sort of take over what I'm going to be speaking about in my channel. Because my next video, before I posted the video about 20 hours ago now, the video about Keyshawn Davis being unprofessional for missing weight and having the fight cancelled. That video wasn't meant to be my next video. My next video was meant to be a reaction to the Fabio Wardley versus Justice Hooney fight, and then obviously subsequently the Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos fight that got cancelled. But the fight getting cancelled that late notice was just so crazy. Keyshawn Davis, he took the news there. So I had to address the whole situation and the whole order of events of him, getting onto Abdullah Mason at the press conference, acting up at the weigh-in even though he missed weight, being so cocky, and then having the fight taken away from him. It had to be addressed. And then now I'm finding myself talking about Keyshawn Davis again because, he literally attacked a guy backstage. This is almost even bigger news than his fight being cancelled, so I have to follow up and give it a mention. I'm sure you guys can tell this video is a little bit rushed, didn't have time to plan it out, another all-nighter. So many fights happened, but again, this is all I can think about now. This stole the show as far as I'm concerned, and not in a good way, and I'm really interested to see how this develops over the coming days, and I'll try my best to keep up with every detail. I'm sure you guys saw me spam my community post reacting to this whole ordeal. So earlier in the night, we saw Justice Hooney completely box the head off Fabio Wardley, just put on a masterclass and then got chinned. And the way the fight went and the way the fight ended brought to light certain predictions that I've made about the fight. But I might have to just wait to do a separate video on that and actually, put more thought into it, because right now, again, just the Keyshawn Davis situation took the show. And I actually lost a lot of money on Justice Hooney as well. I had him on points, and he was literally, boxing his way to a lovely victory. Fabio Wardi looked gassed from about the third round, absolutely tired. Hooney was defending so nicely, blocking shots, just dishing out right hands to Fabio Wardi. The straight punches through the middle was really, getting the job done against the, technically unrefined Fabio Wardi, should we say. But then he pulls that out the bag. And then there was controversy with the count as well, which is something I look to address in another video. That's another big controversy, but again, to me now, that's nothing compared to what we saw. I did have, Hooney, if he won on points, I would have completely broken even from this bad betting losing streak I'm on. I actually would have been in profit. That's how big the return would have been if Hooney did win on points. But yeah, I was liable for a schizo crash out when Hooney got chinned in round 10. I was about to move like Keyshawn Davis, but there were more fights later on in the night that, I was looking to watch. So just have my cup of tea, cigarette, chill out, ready to bounce for the next boxing card, and, tune in for the Keyshawn Davis fight, funnily enough, at the start of the top rank card. So yeah, at that point, I'm just thinking, cool, I know what I want to say about this Fabio Wardley fight now, and I'm going to talk about the co-main event. It was the Pierce O'Leary fight. Had a few things to say about that. And then I'm going to wait for the Abdullah Mason fight. I watched the Davis brothers fights, but I don't really care about them too much. But I am gonna watch the Keon and Kelvin Davis fights on the undercard too. And then when Abdullah Mason, does his thing against Nakatila, I'm gonna react to Abdullah Mason's fight. I'm gonna react to Fabio Wardley's fight, and I'm gonna react to the undercard of the Fabio Wardley fight. Who would have thought that Kelvin Davis versus Nahir Albright would have just completely been the main thing that happened on the night? It was insanity. I can't speak. I can't. So, let me say one more thing, because let me just say one more thing. What I think should happen to Keyshawn Davis now? Do I think he should be banned from boxing for life? No. Do I think he should face some legal ramifications or fine or something? Definitely. My legal knowledge is not great. I'm a boxing fan. If Nahir Albright wants to press charges, fair enough. But this is a follow-up from my last video, when I said that Keyshawn Davis should not be rewarded with a title shot at £140 after missing weight for a £135 title fight. He should have to fight at least 3 times before even being able to utter the name of any of the champions at 140. But because he's such a star and stuff, and he gets favourable treatment, he's just going to miss weight, lose his lightweight title on the scales, and get a title shot at super lightweight. But now, because I'm not about all this ban someone for life, I want to see violence, I want to see fights. I know this is not something that is a done thing, but this is just a fantasy of mine right now. Pause. Not a fantasy, but just what I'd like to see in an ideal world, but something that is not realistically going to happen. So I want Keyshawn Davis to have to, fight for his life to not get completely shut up by the boxing community, by all the promoters. He should have to fight for his life, and he should have to fight for pennies to ever get a title shot again. I think he should have to fight like 6 times in like a year or something, and he gets paid pennies. He literally only gets paid enough to run his camp and stuff, and he has to like win all his fights and run the gauntlet, otherwise he can never get a title shot and he can never get a big payday again. Can't we have something fun like that? Again, this situation, I don't want to say that people who are outraged by Keyshawn Davis's recent behaviour are people that are bitching and moaning, because I'm quite taken aback by the stuff he's done as well, but I'm not about to try and say that someone should be thrown in jail or anything. Like, who am I to be saying that? I'm a boxing fan, so I want to see him have to like fight for his life, and yeah, just maybe fight rematch Nahir Albright at 140, because Nahir Albright said he's interested in that. Fight Frank Martin at 140. Fight Jermaine Ortiz at 140, because Jermaine Ortiz is just not a pleasant fight, as we saw when Jermaine Ortiz fought both Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. I think he should have to fight I don't know who else. I want to say Pierce O'Leary. That's just random. It's only because we just saw him fight last night. But I want to see him have to fight like 5-6 times and like barely get paid for any of the fights. And then if he doesn't win all of the fights, then he can never fight for a title and never get a big payday. That's just me. I'm not like wishing for someone to get thrown in jail. I want to see that type of punishment. I know that will never happen, but I mean, let's petition from it. Petitions are a thing now in the YouTube boxing community. Why don't we run a petition for Keyshawn Davis to have to, fight for pennies 5 or 6 times before he ever gets a big fight again? Are you saying you guys down with that, or is that just me being deluded? But yeah, I should probably stop speaking now, because this video is a bit of a mess. very tired out of my mind right now. I will try to do a better video in which I react to the Fabio Wardley fight properly and stuff like that. And yeah, you have been listening to O.M.E Boxing.